Fernando Alonso's scintillating performance at the Brazilian Grand Prix has revitalized Aston Martin's season. However, this achievement came at a cost. In Sao Paulo, Aston Martin amazed fans with awe-inspiring drives from both Alonso and Stroll, securing third and fifth positions at Interlagos. These results took F1 enthusiasts by surprise due to the team's recent poor performances. Initially, it seemed like it would be a disastrous Grand Prix for Aston Martin, but it ultimately turned into their best performance of the entire season. What happened to Aston Martin in Sao Paulo? Today, the Grid Report brings you an in-depth analysis of Aston Martin's incredible comeback at the Brazilian Grand Prix and its implications for the team's future. Well, before we get into it, kindly hit the like and subscribe button, and without ado, let's get right into it. The Brazilian Grand Prix was a showdown many looked forward to. So many surprises have been happening of late as we approach the last lap of the 2023 F1 season. From the AlphaTauri turnaround to Lando Norris being a huge force to reckon with, Sao Paulo promised to bring in its shock. Aston Martin was that surprise. Both Alonso and Stroll were unbelievable during qualifying. They timed the qualifying perfectly before the heavy rains hit and were able to secure great grid positions. Stroll in P3 and Alonso in P4. The sprints came and it was a bad day for the team as both drivers were totally off pace. All of a sudden, the qualifying performance seemed to be a fluke and many ruled them out of the race even before the main race had begun. As the main race at Interlagos kicked off, Alonso and Stroll gave the fans in Sao Paulo an unforgettable performance. The duo started brilliantly and ended strongly. Alonso was the name on everyone's lips, not Max Verstappen, who recorded his 17th Grand Prix win of the season. The news was all Alonso. He entertained fans from start to finish. He gained a hard-fought podium. The Brazilian Grand Prix was a total success for the Aston Martin team, considering the poor results they had been getting for the last few races, and a special race for Alonso, who returned to the podium after a shambolic couple of races in Mexico and at Austin. Alonso was undeniably brilliant and deserving of his P3 finish, although he claimed he was uncertain of the podium because of Sergio Perez. "I thought the podium was gone," Alonso said, talking about his final lap battle with Perez. What went down in the final lap between the two drivers? Fernando Alonso returned to the podium in Sao Paulo for the first time since Zandvoort, claiming P3 after a fierce battle to the line with Sergio Perez. Alonso spent much of the latter half of the Interlagos race resisting pressure from Perez, who was following him in his RB19. But when the Mexican slipped past the third place at turn 1 on lap 70 of 71, it looked as though Alonso's brave defense wasn't to be rewarded with a podium. However, on the final lap, Alonso chose a different strategy. Instead of challenging Perez at turn 1, he opted for a DRS-assisted move down to turn 4. This plan proved successful as he out-dragged Perez to the line, claiming P3 by just 0.053 seconds from the Mexican. For me, it was like 30 laps that I had the pressure from Checo, but when he passed me 2 laps to the end, I thought, okay, this is gone, the podium is not possible anymore. But he braked a little bit late into one, and I said, okay, I'll go for it, Alonso said, explaining his in-game tactics in defeating Perez. The podium was also a huge sigh of relief for Alonso and his team. They've been off for a couple of races, and the poor results have cost them a lot, including their 4th spot in the Constructors' Championship, overtaken by the in-form Lando Norris and his McLaren team. Talking about what the result means to the team, Alonso said, "This is a phenomenal result for the team. We've been struggling for a couple of months already, especially the last 2 events with 2 retirements. So this podium is for them, for everybody in the factory. We keep fighting until the last lap." Alonso's performance was by far his best drive this season. Although he had finished P2 multiple times this season, his epic battle against Sergio Perez made his P3 finish the best drive of his season. Alonso proved to the world why many consider him the second best driver on the grid this year after Max Verstappen. On the other side of the garage, it wasn't bad news either. Stroll might have not continued from where he stopped during qualifying, but he surely finished strong. Stroll had started ahead of Alonso in P3 but lost places early on with a start that sent him down to P6, but the Canadian was nonetheless encouraged by claiming a strong 5th place after showing impressive pace at times. Commenting on the race and what went wrong, Stroll had this to say, "We had a really quick car today and back to where we were at the beginning of the year. A bad start, it didn't get off the line well, but after that the car felt good pace, so I think it was a really strong weekend." There was a huge change in the Aston Martin cars compared to the ones we saw in Mexico and Austin. The change, although might have worked positively, will surely cost the team. What's the issue with the Aston Martin cars? Aston Martin had been experimenting with upgrades in recent races as they sought a direction for their 2024 machine. These upgrades had failed time and time again, and so the team decided that they would turn back the hands of time in Sao Paulo as they reverted to the pre-upgraded car. Alonso was encouraged by the pace that he had refound in the AMR 23 after its strong start to 2023. This gave the oldest man on the grid the right energy he needed to perform incredibly, securing a podium finish. Obviously, we're still learning about the car, said Alonso. These cars are so complex aerodynamically, so we've been experimenting a little bit to find the direction for next year. We thought about forgetting this year, but we're still competing, so happy. And now to Vegas. These changes from upgrades to pre-upgraded cars would surely cost the team in the long run. With other top teams already done with their experiments for their 2024 car, Aston Martin remains in the loop, confused, not knowing what direction to take with their cars. Although the pre-upgraded car was of good pace and worked well in the Brazilian Grand Prix, there is no guarantee that the car would be able to outperform other upgraded cars in the next races. Next up is Vegas. Alonso looks happy and Stroll looks confident. Aston Martin are said to have revived their season. But we do have to ask the daring question. Is this performance just a one-time fluke, or is Aston Martin truly back to challenging for podiums? Share your thoughts in the comment section below, and also don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel to stay up to date on the latest F1 news. Until next time, goodbye.